Okay, well, just gotten out here. I woke up maybe 30 minutes ago. Refreshed their grit, so it's a little easier for them to get. There was certainly sort of a hole. Obviously the refilling is sort of what Newt wanted because there's a little less sweeping happening. Well, still some, but yesterday was sweep. He just got off the nest. Got to look at Latte during the process. Looking good. Probably do a more thorough baby check before I leave. You know, fill the crop and whatnot. The kids, as I was setting up in here, really wanted to land on me. So that's good. I like them seeking, you know, active hang time. They're really, honestly, quite beautiful for you know, for this age. Honestly, I think they're gonna be really pretty adults. I also sort of suspect that Banana's gonna get chesty, like Newt. I was just looking through pictures last night, and you know, just sort of absently noticing the body changes that are occurring very slowly in Banana. Like I don't know, a week ago we were a pretty skinny teenager, and now we've got a little bit of muscle in the chest. Not to Newt's extent, of course, but Newt did not have that muscle either when he was their age. Newt took some time to fill out. So I think we are possibly going to be somewhat daddy shaped. I think both of them are, just in different ways, maybe. Plum, for instance, on the right there, is smaller, but I think proportionally wider. And you know, that's a wide bird right there. You can really see it when Plum floofs up. You know, it's the same floof as Banana. It's just it's somehow larger, you know. Which is interesting. It's weird how the body shapes are getting passed around here. Hi Cloud, are you gonna get a drink? I gotta dump it for you when I get out of here. It's looking dusty. Just gross. How's the man doing? Less than a week until your kids, buddy. You're almost there. You can stop being weird with your wife. I've also, I've discovered that one of the best ways of getting a good picture of the birds is considering that I film them every day, going through the photos, going through the videos that I have on my phone, and just fast forwarding through them with my thumb, and seeing, you know, when a bird is rather up close or doing something interesting and is in focus, and just taking a screenshot, because my phone lets you fast forward like millisecond by millisecond if you want to. maybe it's not that short, but it's pretty defined. Like if you're slow enough with your thumb, you can there's like the regular like move back and forth in the video scroll, and then there's like an actual like you can like pause the video and just like move your thumb on the video screen, and that makes the like a more accurate fast forward slash is your wife calling you? A more accurate fast forward slash rewind, and you can kind of you can zone in on the 3 seconds the bird is in perfect focus. And my phone additionally, while it's paused, has a like a I mean, it's basically take a screenshot button, except you don't have to like do the like press the volume key and the power button at the same time, you know, like it's just on the screen, and then it doesn't take a picture of the whole screen, it just takes a picture of the actual like video, so there's no like black bars around it you got to crop off or anything. It's just the screen. You know, it's not like the home navigation keys or anything. And even further, it's gonna make a GIF button, which is really cool. And it's how I've gotten those GIFs of the kids being scritched or smacking their beaks. You can only do up to 5 seconds, but you know, it's way crisper than you know, the you know, putting a part of the video through Giphy or another GIF maker. You know, the resolution just drops like a rock in those situations. So, you know, my phone definitely is not perfect, but I do enjoy those two features quite a lot. I think they are really, really useful. Helps me get some really nice images of everybody. Just takes some time and a little bit of extra small effort. You know, I uploaded a bunch of pictures to Instagram last night, most of which were from screen caps from the last several days, or I had taken earlier and just never posted. It's funny. He likes to get on the brick to drink. Not everyone does, but he thinks it's a good idea. Ow! Somebody has a sharp little toe over there. Talk about you, Banana. Though it may be because they stepped on the quick of my toenail. Ow! Ugh. Yeah, sometimes they'll just step somewhere like extra sensitive, and then it hurts for longer than you think it's going to. Hi, Plum. Hi, Plum. Hi. Come back down. Gotta say, I'm really quite pleased with the little setup I've conjured here. Through, you know, bits and bobs. Stuff we've accumulated or bought or found. I mean, this piece of wood that's the ramp. I totally stole that from my dad. He was using it for something to do with the lawnmower / tractor. I mean, it's not really a tractor, but it's a huge lawnmower, to the point where it can like, it can drag, like, tree limbs behind it and whatnot, or parts of trees, and, you know, do, help with the manual labor around the yard. We've got a fairly big yard, lengthwise, and, this house was built in early 80s, I think. And the person who had it built, he planted the yard quite well, for the most part, or perhaps not always the best planned out spots, but certainly picked some nice trees and plants. You know, there's a lot in our yard that flowers every spring and during the summer and even during the fall. You know, he chose a wide variety of things that would flower at different times, which is cool. But it has been over 30 years, and some of those original plants and trees are have been neglected over time since he left. And you know, I think what the biggest issue was probably you know, somebody lived here for like, I don't know, 8 years or something, but didn't do a thing with the yard. So there was like, hi, I'll leave my hand here if you want to play with it. So there was like an 8-year lull where nobody took proper care of anything, and so it sort of fell into disrepair. And where are you going? You going up? And then there were another couple of years where you know, there was somebody like just renting, and they were trying to sell the house, and just would plant like random stuff, and not well. Like, we found like several plants that we didn't want that we pulled out of the ground. We found had like the tags still attached to them, like in the dirt, which, heads up, is not what you're supposed to do. So yeah, due to the age and neglect of some of these trees and plants, they have been well, you know, they're ill, they're dying, and so, you know, we're treating the ill ones that we'd like to keep. Like, we've got a couple of hemlocks that have a mite issue, which we treated last year, and they're doing way better this year. But that's like an ongoing thing, so you have to keep doing it. And there's just a bunch of trees that were dying and had to be completely taken down, even though they were like nice, you know, species to keep, and see flower and whatnot. They were, you know, just half of them was dead. So yeah, my dad is a rather judicious lawn keeper, and you know, he's pretty well versed in botany. You know, that's not really the field that he completely works in, but he is a biologist, so he did take more than a few classes on the subject, and is really good at you know, identifying plants just out in the out on hikes and whatnot. Which is as someone who is you know, I can appreciate a pretty plant, but I'm not particularly interested in them for the most part, to the chagrin of my parents, who both enjoy botany. My mom is pretty good at it too, but I would say my dad's probably got the upper hand on that one, at least. And what he judges needs to come down does end up coming down. We're in a slow process of removing things and replacing. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze, I think. Oh, excuse me. We're in a slow process of removing things and replacing things with you know, others, you know, more well-suited species, or you know, just stuff we like. My dad's a big big fan of native plants. And, you know, some other more, just like personal preference things. You know, there's a lot of trips to the nursery, shall I say. During that process, you know, that's the little staircase. Found that in the yard. Let's see, that brick on the right, found in the yard. This paver, found in the yard. This stump is from the yard. I believe the other stump is also from the yard. I think these are things we've actually cut, like, down in the yard. Like, I think we probably, these are probably from trees that were here. I don't know why else we would have had them, to be honest. Like, I can see, we did move some rocks from the old house here because they were nice rocks. You know, like, they were, the house we lived in before, it wasn't that far away, maybe 30 minutes, but it wasn't in, like, a location that we liked, but it had a ton of, like, really high quartz rocks, just, like, in the yard for no reason, and we were like, well, it's technically still ours. So we did take, some of those rocks because they're just very nice rocks. They're very pretty. They sparkle, you know? Those are around, not in here, obviously, but, you know, I don't see why we would take a stump. Yeah, that seems ludicrous to me. You know, that brick we found in this yard, I think those two bricks we found in this yard, that brick, the pale one, we found in the old yard and brought with us because it was definitely one of the things that we we were using for the pigeons at the time. I think there may be a feeding happening, so I'm gonna go stand up. What's going on there? Huh? Are you doing stuff? Huh? I did hear some peeping. Yeah, we're getting fed. Yeah, I know. This is, by the way, this right here, this is exactly the reason why I like these bowls so much, is both parents can stuff themselves in there if they want to, which often you look like you want to kill me, dude. Are you you're so intense. What's this face for? Oh my god. You're a ludicrous man. You're ludicrous. Did you feed that baby? That baby's getting fed, I think, an insane amount. Storm is still, I see, trying to feed from Newt during these sessions because she's so food oriented. She loses her mind. You know, when she's solo parenting up there, that's not a thing that happens, obviously, because Newt's not there to do that. But when she's in there with Newt, she's so, I think she's so, like, used to being fed by him during courtship that she oh, there's like seed and stuff in my flip-flop because I keep flinging it in there. When she's just used to Newt providing for her when when she's courting with him. And she loves food so much that I think it's she just gets her wires crossed a little bit. Scraping to get the rolly stuff out from under my foot because I have it extended, and when I have them extended, they tend to just slip just a little bit if there's seed under them, which is long term not comfortable. Let's see that. I think these brooks we found in this yard. And that flower pot we may have found in this yard, we just brought with us and we didn't need. Because that is a flower pot. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's empty underneath. Honestly, I think it's a hideous flower pot. Like, who would make a flower pot that looks like that? This is an IKEA table that we basically repurposed. You know, we didn't need it for anything inside. It may have been one of the tables that was used to put the original Tippler cage on. So you know, like well, we didn't have it on the floor because, you know, it was in a room that cats could just go into. It was, of course, you know, it is still, because it would be insane to remove it, just in terms of labor and also why. Oh, you flappy? Are you zoomy? Oh, what are we excited about? You so silly. Oh, we're also flaky. Hi, banana. Want to focus on for me? Thank you. So we had two of those tables supporting the kennel to keep it off the ground, so the birds were like above the cats, and didn't have to, like, you know, live on the same exact level as them. Not that they were particularly bothered by the cats. You know, they grew up in the cat-filled household. And obviously we never, ever, ever purposefully let them interact. You know, and the cats were discouraged from going and viewing the birds intently, you know? Like, when we got our youngest, she was not used to the birds yet, so she would jump up on top of the cage and look at them, which actually didn't bother them at that point because they were so used to cats. And they knew that they were safe in there because of the predator proofing we had on the outside, And, you know, we eventually discouraged her from doing that. But, you know, it was, why have them on the ground if you know, if you don't have to, and you've got cats. So two of these tables, which cost, like, I don't know, $10 at IKEA. Like, they're extremely cheap tables. But you know, quite useful. Who is on my head? It's not one of the Lucerns, so it's either Taco or it's Cloud. And considering my neck is not aching, it's probably Taco. Hi, Plum. Hi. So, that's where we got that table. Where's the other table? We definitely still have it. Where do we put it? I'm actually not sure. It's around somewhere. What's this baby doing? Did someone pull into the driveway? Huh? But that kennel that the Tipplers used to live in is actually what we use as the quarantine cage now. the Lucernes spent their first 2 weeks in there. In the room where I bring the kids for social time. So, you know, the cats didn't have to scare them. My youngest is going to be so mad for those 2 weeks that Mr. H lives in there, because she loves that room. And being denied access to it is very annoying for her. She's very entitled. She is a spoiled little criminal. But she's adorable, so we put up with it. She's very sweet. Yeah, somebody home? Who is it? Is it my dad? It must be. Those are thumping footsteps. The camera's not focusing as fast as I would like it to today. One second. Yeah, it scared them. And then Banana ran right into Plum. I would like them to be better socialized to new people, but honestly, it's just not been working out. I mean, soon we're gonna start going for little trips, but this one around, like, the first few, I think are gonna be just around my yard, because that's a decent walk by itself, and I'm gonna block off one side of the carrier so they aren't completely overwhelmed by everything around them, you know. I think the mesh viewport out the front and the clear, one of the clear viewpoints on the side is enough. I don't think they need to be completely overwhelmed with the environment right away. So I will we'll work up to it. Yeah, I've been trying to get people, you know, my friends, my boyfriend's friends to come in and help out with acclimating the birds a little bit to seeing new people they don't know. But circumstances just have not been working out, unfortunately. So, though, you know, to be fair, most, I think most, breeder birds, you know, even the companion birds that are socialized, probably see a very small pool of people. You know, they're not being exposed to a ton of people, I don't think. I think it's mostly just their caretakers that they're seeing. But I would like for them to, you know, have a chance to know that there's other people and they're not necessarily a problem. It's just difficult to make happen. So yeah, Mr. H will be in that kennel for quarantine. Unfortunately for him, that is also the room where Peeps will be taken for indoor socialization time, and he will not be allowed out during those times because, you know, he's in quarantine. He's not supposed to have any direct contact with my birds until he's cleared. But in fact he shouldn't even be in the same room. But considering the fact that I know Melifex is great with the health of their birds. Focus, please. To the point of, like, I'm pretty sure they have their own microscope and diagnose their own issues for the most part to treat them. So they're not they're not necessarily gonna miss something obvious, you know. So I'm not really worried about them being in the same room. I just if I'm gonna follow protocol at all, he just can't be allowed to directly come into contact with them. Oh, Taco, you kind of caught my ear on the way to my shoulder. What are you doing, Fidgety? Hmm? What are you doing, Fidgety? Hi, Taco. Taco's on my chest. What are you doing? They're a little wary of her, but she's been pretty good to them, honestly. So I don't think they're scared of her in the same way that they're a little scared of Cloud, because Cloud's a jerk. I think sometimes she can surprise them, but you know, it's not like it's not just their presence, you know, makes them an uneasy sort of situation. I mean, say for Banana. I mean, even Banana's mom makes Banana uneasy. I don't know what's going on between them. I don't know why they have an issue. Plum and Storm don't seem to have this issue. I don't know if it's gender related or just you know, they don't like each other, but I don't know. It's interesting. So yeah, when Mr. H gets here, which I'll be ready to take him the week of the 31st. I don't know if I mentioned this in yesterday's video, but I did I've basically made a plan to come back from my vacation about halfway through, so I'm not away from the birds too long. And for like a minute I was like, oh man, maybe I can have Mr. H shipped to me that Monday and I'll be back in time to pick him up. And then I realized there's no car for me to take him that week. So if he arrived at the post office the day after I got back, my mother would be gone and there would be no way for me to pick him up. I mean, I could get a lift, I guess, but I don't honestly know how many ride shares would be up for a 5-minute drive back and forth, you know? I don't know if that's worth their time. And there's certainly a subset of Lyft drivers who just do not take those rides because they're not worth their time. And I don't know what the situation is around here regarding ride shares, to be honest, because it's not exactly urban, or even really completely suburban. There's certainly suburban aspects, but also like rural aspects. I mean, people less than a mile from me have a whole paddock full of I think they're cashmere goats and a donkey and a miniature horse, and they have a couple small calves now. Not like really small. Like I'm pretty sure they're weaned, but you know, they're not adult cattle. We saw them frolicking first time we saw them, which was great. But yeah, I'm not sure if I would be able to get somebody to come and actually drive me, and I'm not gonna just risk leaving a bird at the post office for who knows how long. You know, it's just so yeah, it's he's gonna have to come the next week when my parents are back and there's cars available to be taken. Hi. And yeah. I'm I'm sad I've got to wait for him, but if that's how it's got to be, that's how it's got to be. Let's see, these kids should both be gone by the time Mr. H arrives. I've not decided yet who's going home with who. I have an idea at this point, but they're not even 6 weeks old, and they change every day. In the stage of their lives, and I want to make sure that they get the best fit possible, and that the people who are in this slot get the best fit possible for what they've asked for, and so I think a proper judgment time is maybe 7 weeks. That way the people who are waiting have some time to get excited and and think about not just, oh, one of these birds will be mine, but this bird will be mine, and get hype that way. And what is it? And I feel like 7 weeks is long enough to make an accurate judgment, and since they're supposed to go home in 8 weeks, I feel like waiting until they're ready to ship is kind of pointless. I would say honestly, the keeping them until 8 weeks is sort of just like an extra week for me to help socialize them and get, have them in here to learn bird manners. Most people send their birds off at 6 weeks if they're not vaccinating, and I'm not even vaccinating, and I'm sending them off at 8 weeks. I think Melifex used to send off at 8 weeks, but now I believe it's 9 weeks due to them vaccinating for paratyphoid, which is honestly kind of a relief for me, because it means I don't have to vaccinate Mr. H with 2 different things. I can just do one. So you're in a hurry. What's going on? Hi. Yeah, I would vaccinate if it was, I think, financially feasible. But I would have to keep until 9 weeks, because you can't do your first one until they're 6 weeks old. And if they're developmentally delayed at 6 weeks old, you can't do it then either. You have to wait until they are actually physically what a 6-week-old should be. Yeah, everyone loves a zipper. Everyone loves a zipper. Danny had I feel really bad for her. She had a problem where she vaccinated a couple underdeveloped birds at 6 weeks, because, that's the age you're supposed to be able to do it. But because they weren't, physically that age, they were probably, a more level surface. They weren't physically that age. They had really bad complications and died. I feel very sorry that she had to find out that way. But at least at least we all know now, right? All right, now you're making it very hard to film you, but yeah, you are there, so that's fun. Hi, where you going? So yeah, it's definitely a bit of a risk to vaccinate before they're ready. It's almost like unfortunate in the manner of, like, You know, there are people out there who believe that vaccinating is bad. And I don't know if that extends to, you know, animals for them, but like, I hate to give them any sort of reasons as to why vaccinating would be a risk, because, you know, in humans it certainly is not really a risk, and it's very important. Storm, look at your head. Did your peak get caught on the grit roof? Hi, Banana. Hi. You going somewhere? Yeah. Just coming up to say hi. Are you hungry? You going out to eat? So yeah, I would have to. Oh my god, the amount of grit you were flinging under my foot, Storm. I would have to keep until 9 weeks, and I'd have to be very careful. And I hate needles. And the vaccines are really expensive, and you can't keep them. All right. You're standing on my toe in a bad way. Okay, that's better. You can't keep them necessarily that long once you've started to draw from them. Though I have been informed that is more cautionary on the part of the vaccine makers than anything. Like it sounds like that I think Danny keeps a vial perhaps longer than is recommended, but you know, if you've got that many birds and you're vaccinating all the time, you're also probably going through a vial faster than the average person, I would imagine. So yeah, I mean, I've considered it, but I mean, this year I'm selling these birds for $25 a pop, you know, plus the shipping and box. But you know, I'm not exactly making anything off the shipping or the box. And I've invested quite a lot into their care, as it is, you know, and I think the most important part is that you know, my adults are all vaccinated, so that you know, and they live out here permanently. So I think that the risk of getting one of these diseases is much higher than one of the kids who are mostly going to indoor homes. And you know, if one of the adults picked one of these things up, I mean, that's an extreme risk factor for their peeps. But I think living in this loft for 8 weeks and then going to an indoor home, you know, I don't think it's high risk. That's my personal assessment. And you know, I'm giving everybody a booster this year. All the permanent birds, because you know, Mr. H is moving in, and then at some point, was it who yelled? It was just a child. It was just a child. And giving the Lucerne their first paratyphoid vaccine. They have their PMV, which I consider the most important one, because PMV can be fatal or it can cause permanent neurological damage. But you can treat paratyphoid/salmonella. There's actually treatment for it. Like there's a vaccine of course, but it's not the only method of stopping it, you know? Like, there is nothing for PMV. If your bird gets PMV, you have to do intensive care, and it's a wait and see situation, you know? You have to hope that your bird makes it. And if they do make it, they're unfortunately going to be disabled, you know? And that's how they're going to be for yeah, see that? See that? That's how they're going to be for the rest of their lives. And you know, they'll have good periods, and they'll have not so good periods. But yeah, I think it's the scariest one out there. Because it's untreatable. And when the disease has run its course and hasn't killed your bird, then you have a bird who is you know, not good at coordination, and it has trouble flying, and needs special attention. And you know, personally, I don't have a setup that's good for a disabled bird. I've had the thought, you know, what if one of these peeps is born disabled, you know? Through some trouble in development, or you know, a deficiency, you know, like some genetic problem where they aren't absorbing nutrients right, or you know, something like that, and they end up with permanent problems because of that, and I can't find them a home that's ready and able to take care of a disabled bird. I mean, there are some disabilities, I think, that could live in here fine, but I can't have permanent indoor birds because I just do not live in a situation where they can have enough time to be out, and to be social, and you know, and accommodating their needs in here. It would depend on the problem, but I mean, a PMV survivor I don't think should be in here. I mean, you know, with their poor coordination, I think you're supposed to be pretty careful about you know, their environment that they live in. You know, that there isn't a lot of like hard surfaces for them to just run into and bonk their heads on, or worse. And I can't just I can't really make this an accessible loft for a PMV survivor, I don't think. I mean, there's a lot of hard surfaces. There's a lot of flying required. I mean, obviously the ramp is certainly an addition that would help. But I mean, that part's bumpy, and if we have poor coordination, you know, can we get up that? And would we be fine sleeping in that box? And yeah, would the other birds pick on it? And so yeah, I mean, this is a discussion that's yeah, it's probably a sensitive one. You know, some people think you should keep an animal alive at all costs, but I think as a breeder you should like think about you know, what's best for the animal. If you know that you can't accommodate its needs, and you can't find anybody who wants to take that challenge on themselves, you know? I mean, there's again very different levels of disability, but if it ruins their quality of life and I can't make it better, and you know, there's just no place for it to go besides living with me. You know, so at some point a judgment call may need to be made as to whether the bird should be humanely euthanized. You know, I want the best for all my animals, and I don't believe that you should let an animal suffer just because you think it you know, you think it should be you know, left to die of natural causes, I guess, or just because you can't let it go. Honestly, one of the hardest things about animal care to me is hearing about situations where somebody is perhaps not being responsible for their animals, you know, due to their own emotions. Hi, Banana. You can come over? What are you looking at? What's out there? What did you see? There's nothing there. You are silly. Like for a while, you know, in senior year, I went to online school for senior year, so it was sort of weird. But in senior year, I had to do a volunteer project, and one of the options was an animal shelter or something similar. So I volunteered at a one of those cat adoption facilities, like in a Petco. Which side note was a really, really stressful setup, because, like, you know, we were encouraged to let the cats out during our time there, you know, well, you know, because you know, no one else was going to, except on a different shift. But it wasn't one of the ones that had its own separate, like, you know, glass-sided room. It was just one of the ones that had, like, a cat hotel, and was like not separated from the rest of the store by any barrier. So we had this little fence that we would put up, which, of course, if you know cats, is not necessarily cat-proof. So there was a couple times where I had to chase a cat around the goddamn store because they, you know, they were hell-bent on getting out of the fence, and they did. Which was insanely stressful. But I remember this woman coming in and you know, striking up a conversation while I was there and taking care of the cats. And she was telling me about, like, 2 of her cats that were insanely sick and old, and how she just couldn't let them go, so she didn't euthanize them. And they, like, what she described to me was 2 suffering cats, and, like, how she didn't have, you know, the responsibility to end their misery because she loved them so much. And I mean, I understand loving your animal and not wanting to let it go, but if your animal is suffering, you know, you can't just, you know, let that happen. I mean, there are, of course, plenty of situations where, you know, an animal is just not ever going to be completely healthy. But, I mean, that's different than suffering, you know? I mean, my cat throws up a lot, after they eat. Well, okay. But, that's not necessarily, like, a terrible, terrible life existence, Like, we had a cat who, he ate too fast, regularly, so we had to feed, like, all the cats 4 times a day with small meals to help his stomach, because he had a very sensitive tummy, and if you did not feed him very small meals, he would just barf it up, and he would barf a lot anyway. He was just a barfer. So, like, obviously, something weird was happening with his tum-tum. But that's a problem you can live with. I mean, 3 legs on a cat, problem you can live with. Deafness, blindness, problems you can live with. I mean, those aren't suffering. I mean, there's disability, and then there's just, like, this animal has no quality of life. And if an animal has no quality of life, it's, I think it's just irresponsible to try and keep it going, I mean, there are absolutely PMV survivors, for instance, that, they've got bad times, but, they're still living a good life because somebody's taking care of them and is supporting their needs, and I think I've seen somebody in one of the Discord servers who has a PMV survivor, and I see them questioning, is this the point? Like, is this the point where I make the call? And that's hard, I mean, if that bird's having, 2 good weeks in a row and then a bad week, that was mean. 2 bad weeks in a row and then 2 good weeks in a row. Where do you draw the line? I think it's certainly complicated, and it certainly requires a lot of thought. This is certainly a dark conversation, but I think it's important because I mean, there's just, I feel like there's so much animal care that is based on how we feel the animals should be treated. And I mean, I think people want to say, like, oh, well, I saved this disabled animal that can't do anything by itself, and I have to tube feed it every day, and it can't clean itself, so I have to clean it every day. And it's like, is that a worthy quality of life, though? And yeah, I think it's sort of in the same lines as, like, the people who think that, pigeons should all be free because, they long to be free, and or organizations like PETA who think we shouldn't have pets at all and they should all be wild, because they long for freedom. What? I mean, that's it's a human way of thinking, like, people have the capacity to feel, I think, stifled and restricted by living circumstances if they're not ideal. But I mean, you give birds a space like this with enough room to fly about, and they're safe from predators, and you know, they've got all the social time they want, and all the food they need, and all the minerals they need, and all the water they need, all the basic care taken care of, and you know, medical treatment should they need it. I mean, you know, a domesticated animal just, why would they long to be free? You know? I mean, even people who think zoos are bad, yeah, there are bad zoos, because they're not zoos. That's the point of a zoo, is that it's ethical, science-based caretaking of animals, and it's and you know, is part of a conservation program. A zoo is not just any place where they keep animals. That's just like what they call a wildlife sanctuary. And don't get me wrong, there are definitely legitimate wildlife sanctuaries where animals that, you know, certainly were like pets or you know, circus animals or stuff like that. You know, animals who were in situations where they shouldn't have been. You know, like a bear that was raised as a pet, you know, can go and live out their lives, with proper care and not have to, not be in a situation that is not meant for them. But, you know, then there's these, like, roadside attractions that just have animals, and, you know, expect you to believe that, they are doing, you know, worthy things with those animals. But that does not mean that all zoos are bad. Zoos have a critical level of importance for conservation. The Baltimore Zoo, for instance, is one of the, if not the leading contributor of helping restore the, I believe it's Panama golden frog. Oh, I heard beeps. Some really loud ones. They're poison dart frogs, but I can't remember exactly what they're called. They're golden though, and their population began to drop really fast. I think about 20 years ago. To the point where my mom, she was working at a zoo at the time, and there were discussions there about whether or not they would even be around, by this point. But a really intensive program was put into place where adult frogs were collected from the wild and transferred to zoos for breeding programs, to try and help restore their populations. I believe what they figured out it was either like it's either a fungus or a virus. It's not a bacteria, I know that. The Baltimore Zoo has I think either the first or the second highest, you girls, population in the country of breeding these frogs, and they're making really good progress. And if you didn't have zoos to do this, Who would? You know? Are you gonna rely on amateur keepers to run these really intensive programs? I mean, I went there for a special, like, you know, drink wine and walk around the zoo and they'll talk about the animals sort of thing. And that was part of the talk, was talking about their frog program. And they mentioned how intensive the setup is. You know, like behind the scenes, like how they have like tank after tank after tank of like special conditions to encourage these frogs to breed, and that it's not necessarily easy. And you know, how are you going to run these programs to save the genetic capacity of an animal's populations if you don't have professional facilities to send them to? You know, what are we gonna do without zoos if people get so uptight about them that we just decide we're not having them anymore? I mean, there's obviously programs that are not associated with zoos that are very important for our planet's biodiversity. I mean, I believe Fish and Wildlife runs quite a few conservation programs for, you know, birds and fish mostly, I think, to encourage breeding populations in the wild and to protect them from overfishing or you know, going out and collecting eggs and sperm from fish and doing basically fishery raising and then releasing in the wild to help ensure that you know, you're not losing 50% of the fry to wild conditions, or just, you know, stuff like dams and releasing once they're old enough to actually survive by themselves without too much trouble. Because, you know, fry do not have a great survival rate. Pretty much anything will eat fry. Fry is like the is water's natural everything can eat that snack. Sort of like how bird eggs are nature's everything can eat that snack. I mean, horses eat eggs if they come across them, for God's sake. So will giraffe, by the way. Fun fact. I know this because my mother worked with giraffe. She actually did an entire study on their diet and how to improve it, considering she worked at Disney and she was doing her she was going for a PhD at the time. So she did a whole thing where she would go out at night and during the day and any time that she needed to, and she would just watch giraffe for hours on end and wait for them to poop. And then she would go collect the poop, and then she would do analysis on the poop. And so she primarily worked with you know, hoof stuff like that, and the smaller things, like birds and reptiles, because she if you've been to the Florida Disney and you've been to Animal Kingdom, there is a place called what are you doing? There's a place called Animal Kingdom Lodge, and that's, I believe, where she started working. That or she was transferred there, I can't remember. But she did a run at the place called Conservation Station, which basically has a bunch of these smaller species of animals, you know, that don't perhaps make make for, you know, extremely exciting large exhibits because you would never see them. And also we're mostly you know, handleable. A lot of the pets, sorry, a lot of the, they're not pets. A lot of the animals that ended up in conservation station though had been pets because of you know, poor regulation laws or whatever. Like more than a few of the exotic animals there were originally someone's personal animal, and you know, it's better that they ended up at conservation station where they were getting, you know, hi, that's my pinky, yeah, where they were getting proper treatment and, you know, proper nutrition, then what? Then you know, living in some old lady's home. Just God, you put so much grit in my flip flop. I have to take it off. And you know, they would do talks there with you know, the parrots and the snakes. They had a prairie dog, which had obviously been somebody's pet. She named another animal, which I can't remember the name of, which is very, very exotic, which some old lady had as a pet. So it was like, it was so tame that it actually had like some behavior problems because it was like, it just assumed that, you know, it could get away with anything. But like the whole point of conservation station was to show off like, you know, animals that would be tolerant of you know, crowds, but could show them up close. You know, these are important animals, and this is what they do, and you know, here's what their situation is like in the wild, and they need protection, and blah 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 blah. And you know, they had a breeding program in Disney for some kind of snake. I can't remember what though. Which apparently was also very successful. Plus, you know, you've got all the breeding programs across the country, which are part of species survival plans. SSPs, I think they're called. Which is it's basically just like at least in this country. I don't know if it extends outside of the country. I haven't looked into it. It's basically like a nationwide like a program for a certain species, which keeps track of everybody's pedigree, which, you know, for you know, keeping the genetic pool diverse, and setting up breeding programs with other zoos that are part of the species survival plan across the country. So you know, you have a cheetah born at this zoo, but this other zoo, they could use that cheetah you just produced because it is not related to any of their cheetahs, and they have a cheetah who would be a good candidate for further breeding. And this isn't just like we're gonna breed them for fun. We're breeding them because they're rare and they need help. I mean, zoos, and a responsible zoo is never going to allow animals to breed for just absolutely no reason. There is hatch control methods, there are birth control methods. You know, there's all sorts of things that they do to prevent unwanted when for instance, when they would get emu eggs at Disney, they would you know, they don't need more emus. Emus are not exactly uncommon. They would take the eggs, and because the eggs are so beautiful, you can sell them for a decent amount of money and raise money for the zoo and for conservation. So they would take the eggs and they would drill a little hole in it, and they would drain out everything inside, and then they would sell the mostly whole eggs for a decent amount of money. Because if you haven't seen an emu egg, they're really beautiful. They're large and they're like an onyx black, but like almost iridescent. It's weird. It's like a green onyx. Yeah, so I mean, don't just think that zoos are out there breeding just to breed. Not a responsible zoo, you know? Don't watch Tiger King and think, oh, this just confirms my suspicions about zoos. That was not a zoo. Anything that lets you handle a freaking predator is not a zoo. And I don't mean snakes, by the way, or a baby alligator, you know? That's different. Although, honestly, I would be perhaps a tiny bit skeptical about baby alligators. It depends on the place. I think there are certain species of, God, you girls are just scaring each other. Like, non-stop today. There's definitely, I think, certain species of gators or crocodiles that would be stressed out by a constant human attention. But there's actually like at least one social species of caiman which are actually quite friendly if raised by a person. They're with like other caiman too, obviously, because there's not exactly just one egg per lay for the females. But because they're social, they're more willing to interact with human caretakers in like a positive manner. So like something like that is probably totally fine to bring out and have a little show and tell with. Snakes are so simple that as long as you have a mildly tempered one, I don't think it really matters much at all. Parrots make really great talk pets because I keep saying pets, they're not pets. Talk animals because you can train them really well to do things on cue, and they're pretty, and they'll do what you want them to for the most part. And so they're good ambassadors for wild animals, because I do want to point out parrots are wild animals. They're not domesticated. What you're seeing in front of you right now, this little bird right here, this is domesticated, and it has been for thousands of years. Parrots, not so much. Any friendly parrot is only friendly because it has been intensively hand raised. Meanwhile, you can up there, you can let pigeons raise their own babies, and as long as you are part of their growing process, they can be totally friendly and think you are part of their social group. And they know you're not a pigeon. If they're raised by pigeons, they are aware you are not a pigeon. But that doesn't matter, because you've been around them since they were young, and you've taught them that you are safe. And in the case of this one here, a good friend. And it's way different, But like those people who think that these animals in zoos are longing to be free, I mean, guys, it's not the 1800s anymore. As long as the zoo has a proper enclosure, I don't think it's a problem. Most animals do not have the capacity to even conceptualize freedom. If you let if you let a random animal in the zoo out of its enclosure, chances are it would not know what to do with itself. There are, of course, exceptions to that, but I wouldn't say that's longing for freedom. They just want to do something. There was a zoo. It wasn't Disney. I want to say it was somewhere in Georgia. I could be wrong, but if you've heard of it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Where a hippo was managing to squeeze out of her enclosure at night, and she would just go and graze on the grounds, and then before morning came, she would squeeze back into her enclosure, and spend the rest of her day in there. But obviously she wasn't longing for freedom. She just wanted some extra grass because she went back in her enclosure. And there's there's that orangutan who gained a skill set for picking locks with things that he would steal off of the keepers or find on the floor, and would hide in his mouth until everybody was gone, and then he would pick the lock and and then just wander. But it's not like I'm not in the wilds. I should be in the wilds where I'm free. It's they're perhaps a little bored, you know. I mean, an orangutan, of course, is much closer, I think, to an ability to conceptualize freedom than a hippo. But I mean, even people who think that their cats are longing for the outdoors when they've never been an outdoor cat before. My cat, Jesus, we have 4 cats currently. One of them has been allowed outside occasionally, never by himself, never off a leash. He's always been on a harness leash. He mostly enjoys it, except he gets weird as hell, and he starts developing behavior problems. So we actually don't take him out that much anymore. But once we accidentally, it wasn't actually us. It was we had some workmen come over, and the door was not fully shut in the front, which resulted in 3 of our cats getting outside. 2 of them obviously went for a little exploration and then decided, you know what? No. Because my mother was looking around outside for them, and 2 of them showed up almost immediately and were like, can you please let me back inside? And the one that had, some experience outside, he's a dumbass, is the unfortunate thing. We found him in the next yard over, just sitting and looking a little worried. And then of course he sees us, and he's like, oh good. And he stands up and he's so excited to see us. And then he's like, all right, now let's go for a walk. And I'm like, no, you do not have your harness on. You're going inside. He was obviously he'd freaked himself out because he was by himself. And then he didn't have the knowledge or the gumption to get back to the house by himself. But once I was there, he had the confidence to start exploring again, and I was like, no! But the first 2 were like, no, nope. So, animals, the idea of animals longing for freedom is kind of silly. Even animals as as complex and, emotionally aware as, say, like, elephants, I would say do not long for freedom. As long as you are giving an elephant enough to do, and, it's meeting its social needs, and it's got enough space, I don't think that animal is unhappy. What about the wild is so great? I mean, things die constantly in the wild. That's part of the wild. So, if you're keeping an animal in a zoo, especially for a conservation program, what in God's name is wrong with that? There's, again, caveat, there's always going to be somebody out there who is not taking care of what they have correctly. But, you can't just say that's going to be everybody. You can't just say we should just get rid of zoos entirely. That is an animal rights activist stance. That is a stance PETA wants you to take. And you may have that stance, and you may think, well, I'm not as bad as PETA. PETA kills people's pets. They steal them off their porches, which they do, by the way. It's not as bad as PETA. I'll give you that. But it's certainly on the road to PETA. And it's certainly a view PETA would encourage you to take. There's having ethical considerations for animals, and then there's basing those ethical considerations on projected human emotions. And again, I do think there are exceptions to this. I think perhaps most cetaceans, I think that's how you call, I think that's their scientific group. I could be fucking it up. So dolphins, pretty much. I don't think there are many whales in captivity. I think they're just too big. Like killer whales, not actually whales, they're dolphins. I think it's probably really, really hard to keep dolphin species ethically. I will say, I have seen blackfish. And I will also say that at this point in time, I think blackfish was probably over-exaggerated. And you've got a feather on your face, Plum. You can get it. You didn't get it. I think it's probably come out since then that there were a lot of inconsistencies in their story. And that's certainly a big part of how animal rights activist sort of propaganda goes, is inconsistent stories that they sound believable because people usually do believe the worst, but there are definitely certain facts about keeping dolphins in facilities that I have to admit are not ideal. I mean, they need so much exercise and so much space, and they require so much enrichment because they are so smart. And I think while elephants are probably somewhat on the same spectrum of intelligence and emotional capacity, I think we are just better equipped to take care of a terrestrial animal with those needs than we are to take care of a dolphin species with that need, you know? I think that the open sea pen idea is a really good one. You know, obviously these animals cannot be released into the wild fully because they've been taken care of by us, and they don't know how to do that by themselves anymore. But I think having that solution is probably a really good one. So yeah, there are definitely cases where I think maybe we shouldn't do that one, you know? Just like I think there are certain species that shouldn't be common pets. I mean, I'm not going to stop anybody from having a macaw, but I honestly don't know if they should be pets, you know? I can't stop anybody. That's not my job, it's not my right. But that is a long-lived animal. And it's got really highly specialized needs. And you know, a good amount of the source of them is birds that are you know, originally taken from the wild, which is, you know, yikes. Like, when you go to reptile shows, part of what you want to ask a person with a snake you do not usually see at reptile shows is, where'd you get this? Because, you don't want a wild-caught snake. It's not really a good idea. And, I don't think it's particularly good for the species to be taken from the wild all the time. Of course, you know, there will be people who will never tell you the truth about that, and they will lie. And that's just going to happen. But, if you can, you know, just be careful, and, you know, if you feel like somebody is not telling you the full truth, just don't buy it, you know? Just move on. Find something else. If it's something really rare anyway, you may not know or have the resources available to take care of it properly. Yeah. Ethical animal keeping is a really complicated subject. As I'm sure you've noticed, considering I think I've been talking about it for about 40 minutes. But I think it's really important that, what are you doing? That we remove, you know, our human sensibilities from the equation, for the most part, you know? I mean, we should think about what's right and wrong. That's not a part we should remove. But, I mean, look at this. This is not a bird longing to be free. This is a comfortable bird who likes people. Hi, Plum. Are you with a baby? Oh, we sit. Let me try to sit. Are you with a baby? Are you Plum? Are you a cutie pie? Are you cute? Oh, we getting little nibbles? You have a hair stuck on you. That's my hair. I'm sorry. Oh. Before I end the video, I do want to touch on non-zoo animal keeping. For instance, farm care. Boy, it's getting thundery. There are, of course, situations where farm care is really bad. But campaigning to stop the entire cattle industry or pig industry or chicken industry is not the solution, guys. It's that's not going to happen. Be realistic. Also, don't be ridiculous. There are other solutions besides wholeheartedly stopping the care and oops, my wrist almost died. The care and the farming of certain animals. I think over time, as people have these concerns, conditions are definitely going to improve in certain sectors. I do think that say the average chicken farm, the ones where they're all shoved into cages and just produce eggs nonstop until they die, yeah, that's bad. I think chickens should be cage free, and be able to live chicken lives that are normal, and hopefully be bred into a genetic combination that doesn't shorten their lives so much because of the number of eggs they produce. There of course are definitely better chicken breeds out there, but if you get like a general chicken that's been bred for this constant egg laying, don't expect to have that chicken for more than 4 years. That's how short their lives are. But that's not how it has to be. Cattle farming can be improved, but why should it be stopped, Alright, I'm going inside because it's going to pour. Okay. I'm sorry, Plum. I'm sorry. I don't want to get up. You're being very cute. Well, thank you for watching. Sorry for ranting about ethical keeping for almost the entire video. I hope this image of Plum will make up for it. You are so funny. Just tucked into my arm. Yo, cutie. You little cutie. But it is raining, and I don't want to get poured on, so. Alright, well, thank you.